The last wrap-up was in 2022, and in 2023 I spent the video talking about my game of the year. So this year we're doing a wrap-up again, every game that was released this year that I played. No early access games, sorry, but I won't let those games win Game of the Year twice. But how are we going to organize this list? Well, I've created a most powerful device. I saw the tier list and said, what if this measured the obscurity of the subject as well? And created the Tierberg. We will start from the most known game, and fill this list as we travel down to the most obscure game. However, my game of the year will stay hidden and will only show up at the end of the video, so let's start plotting my games of the year. Starting with Helldivers 2. Yeah, massively popular game, you don't need me to recommend it. If you got scared away by the early controversy or the people complaining about nerfs, all that stuff is fixed. The freemium currency grind is kinda nuts. Expect to basically do 100 missions for every battle pass you want to unlock. However, that won't be on your mind for at least the first 30 hours of gameplay. If you want a cool gun, just kill your buddy or wait for him to die to steal it. Oh, so this video was in production for so long that they released the alien faction to the game? It's a fun combo of space marine-like fridges and hordes of bullet-soaking zombies. Easy A tier, our most popular game on the list. As you know, I love PoE, and when PoE isn't happening, I'm asking, when is PoE? But during one of the downtimes this year, I tried out last Epoch, and man, I can definitely recommend it. It's not bad. However, I have some reservations about the plot in the endgame. I don't feel comfortable talking critically of it, but it's an easy recommend. They made a good game. C tier and second most popular game? I'm ordering this by Steam review count, so the numbers are probably way off. But anyway, Bwade and Sworsery. I have a VR setup, and when I heard Bwade and Sworsery got a 1.0 release in a campaign, I figured it was time to install it, and man, what a game. The combat mechanics are really thrilling, the magic flows from useful utility to borderline overpowered at times. The campaign isn't very plot focused, but you can really feel yourself getting stronger as you complete more dungeons and get better gear. Far and away one of the best games for VR, for just pure arcade fun. Post-recording B tier. Despite being hardware locked, it's very popular. Content warning. I have no footage of this game. I played it though. I'm gonna put it in C tier. Webfishing. I'm normally not a public lobby gamer. I typically like to stay as solo as possible. However, I decided to use webfishing to break out of my mold a little, and it was pretty good. The community is nice and the game is comfy. Basically a long-term grinding game. It has features designed to speed it up, like the buckets and soda, but you can take your time and just yap with strangers. I didn't film strangers for B-roll because you need permission for that. Film permits on Webfishing Island cost like $3,000. Easy A tier. Thronefall. I love tower defense games, and Thronefall is another one of those. You get all the perks to specialize your runs, as well as different regions with different challenges. There's even a small RTS component where you can summon dudes to help defend. You get to pick negative perks to increase the challenge and score, and it's a score chasing game, but you can ignore the leaderboards and just satisfy the mission requirements to complete regions. Really good, easy recommend. B tier, a lot more popular than I realized. Peglin. Peglin's 1.0 release was interesting. We went from basically 2 builds in early access to now having combinating steering mechanics. It's one of the only roguelike deck builders I play, mostly because it's separated from the card aesthetic that makes all those feel the same. I think it deserves a B tier. Zero Sievert. This is the only game I felt like I played wrong this year. I choose the default difficulty settings, and while the moment-to-moment gameplay was extremely difficult, the economy was the opposite. I'm a massive hoarder in these games, so my wealth was scaling far faster than my ability to use it. Eventually this evened out, but the economy felt too generous when I could basically just sacrifice infinite lives to get what I wanted. The lack of stress makes this an easy game to recommend, and I think on a second playthrough I'll probably bump the difficulty. But for now, I'm feeling incomplete over the game. B tier, cause I can see the potential. Earth Defense Force 6. Each EDF game is just more EDF. However, 6's story stands out from the rest, but it's mostly for reasons that I can't explain in a recommendation video. I think playing 5 and then 6 is more ideal if you really want to get into the series. Lots of 6 is just 5 repeated, so you'll probably think I'm an asshole if you beat both of those on this recommendation, but it's worth it. Don't play it alone though, it's a very lonely game by yourself. Play it in a group. Gonna be a C tier from me. Space Trash Scavenger. I really wanted to play a factory game, but I didn't want to spend $70 on Factorio with its new expansion, so instead, Space Trash Scavenger. This game is almost good. It's like Little Quibbles the video game. The stock market is my biggest annoyance for me. You can sell your goods to a randomly reactive vendor that drops the value of items if you sell too many, but then raises or lowers the other items depending on how it feels. But you can't rebuy items from the stock market, so crashing the value of an item just means you should either stop producing it or just move further into the production chain to sell those things instead. It's alright as a way to keep me from making the world's most efficient glass factory, but the universe around me is what governs what I produce, as the scrappy loot gets turned into cubes that you can make stuff with. Like, I didn't produce 30,000 growth factors because I love the production chain, it's just because the planets I visit gave me so much carbon that they were piling up on the side of my ship. Since resources can only pull in chests and not on conveyors, you have to manually command chests to output in order to get the autonomous setup going. And also, they only output one slot at a time, so you have to put in a weave of materials in order to make it the machine at the end of the line, not just sit idle for the first 60 seconds of the chest running. Part of this is my fault. I basically spent a week designing my factory so I can input raw materials to get the final result, but the game is obviously made to be more scrappier than this. Anyway, C tier. Golden Lap. Banger game. I highly recommend this to anyone who's on the edge of understanding racing sims and wants an introductory game. My forewarning is the team selection at the beginning of the game is the difficulty. Higher teams have more money and can easily place in the top 5. I recommend going the middle of the road and slowly building your team over the season. It's kind of funny how dominant Ferrari is in this era of racing, so don't feel bad for not placing first. B tier. Actually, pretty obscure game. Shrot. Definitely the most obscure game on this list by a country mile. A Chet remake of Dune 2 with a bunch of strange jokes that I don't understand. Even with all the modern features added, it was too difficult for me to beat. I recommend it, obviously. Just be really aware of what you're getting into. C tier. All the way at the bottom of the iceberg, though. It's time for the live service corner. I know you all love the live service corner. I only have 3 games in this section, starting with Helldivers 2? Oh, I was having so much fun playing that I forgot it was a live service game. The live service part of Helldivers 2 is going really strong right now. Instead of just uploading new game modes or adding new weapons and skins, they're using the nature of live service to tell a story. The Second Galactic War is being molded live by the players. Well, sorta. The choices of attack this planet that everyone is on, or waste super Earth resources attacking random planets isn't very compelling. But the super space station they built is great at creating an alternative place to attack while people are focusing on the major order. Here's footage of it right now. Oh, they turned it off while the alien invasion was happening. Whatever, I'm sure it'll come back. Also, the fucking Hellgast pack costs like $40. Editor's note, they walked this back. For all future Helldiver updates, please consult the graph. Love live service games, man. As far as long-form serial fiction goes, I've been enjoying the developments of Helldivers 2. It's one of the few live service games that feels like it has some life in it. Transition. Forza. My brother and I were expecting there to be a Forza ad at the Game Awards, but they're probably saving that for the 2025 trailer season. We're expecting this because Forza Horizon 5 is coming to an end. Or at least, it's projected to end. They're doing all the things that they did at the tail end of Horizon 4, such as a backstage pass for some of the cars that were on the Battle Pass, and adding some extra crossover stuff like Halo resources, which was a whole event in 4, but in 5 it's just another update. The game is still fun though. You know, just imagining playing a game a lot reminds me of the 3rd game on this list. Old School RuneScape. We can't be doing this right now. I gotta finish the video. You know RuneScape? Most people I knew played it when they were in middle school, but it's really stuck around for years afterwards, and I can imagine why. Sometimes it's nice to just have a thing to do with your hands while you're watching a TV show, and RuneScape is basically all about setting up the perfect environment to unconsciously do something. But the conscious acts are fucking crazy hard. Like, I nearly died fighting adamant dragons, and I got 99 magic, and also 5 out of the 6 magic masteries. Yeah, I'm playing the League. Sorry to the gamers out there who thought I picked up an MMO, but I'm just here to enjoy the League. It's unfortunately missing what I enjoy the most out of RuneScape, which is how the quests are designed, and it's mostly a stress-inducing wiki game, but those can be fun too. By the time I finish the video, the League is gonna be over, but consider this a recommendation to watch out for the next League. These are fun, even if you have no idea what you're doing, and maybe if you're even doing stuff wrong on purpose. Path of Exile. It's the 4th game in my live service corner. Only 2 leagues released this year, Necropolis and Settlers, and both were pretty alright. Necropolis was a very strong crafting mechanic that resulted in me getting some snazzy all tier 1 rings, but had a very awkward tempo. Normally I like to consolidate resources when I have too much of them, and Necropolis was very random at when I had too much, so I'd end up constantly having to check if I was hitting my max, and I'd just break my flow over and over. Settlers though. Settlers didn't care if you maxed out on resources, you just processed them slower if you didn't consistently visit your town to upgrade stuff. But the real question is, how are you enjoying PoE 2 now that it's out? And if you're asking that question, then you forgot about my no early access games rule. I have a long-winded argument for this, but basically, I like to play action RPGs slowly and reading the text. I've played PoE 1 so many times that I don't need to read the text. I already know what it says. But if GGG are releasing a high-quality video game, I don't want to play that game when it's unfinished. I'd like to have the best, most positive experience with it. It might sound weird to be cagey about the release of a video game, but PoE 1 has been on my mind for 7 years. Its themes of memory, repetition, and feeling trapped in routine have resonated with me while also giving me an escape. I don't think a game lives up to that build-up or that kind of hype, so for the next 6 to 12 months, I'd rather just dream and I can be disappointed later. Before we go into my game of the year, I'd like to look at our graph here. The games I played this year were pretty popular, and so was my game of the year. But there is a factor that I want to stress with this list that I can't accurately model in a tierberg. Because how much would I recommend these games? Well, thankfully, I've added yet another dimension to the graph. This is the recommendability scale. Things on the left are my least recommendable, and things that approach the right are my absolute most recommendable. All of these games are good, but if you could only pick one, I'd start from the top right and work your way down. However, where does my game of the year fit? Well, it's S tier, obviously, but Shadows of Doubt. This game kicks so much ass. You get to play as a breaking and entering specialist as you try to catch a killer who's running around the city. Murders leave behind a ton of clues that you can sort through to find out who could have done it. When you get very good at the game, sometimes you can solve murders in less than a day. But where the game really shined, and the reason why I gave Zero Sievert so much credit despite feeling slighted by the economy, is the hardcore one life mode. Playing Shadows of Doubt knowing that you're a fragile guy while trying to catch someone who's basically a cornered animal the second they realize you're there to arrest them, man, it's thrilling, but it also breaks. Shadows of Doubt has a lot of performance problems, and you know it's bad if I'm bringing it up. Normally I never notice or care about frame drops or stutters. My mentality is they're gonna happen, so it's best not to focus on them. But man, it's impossible to recommend a game that runs this questionably. So even though it's S tier, this is my game of the year, I'm gonna have to place it low on the recommendability scale. But yeah, here's the graph. This isn't every game I played the year, just the ones that came out in 2024. You should buy every game I talk about, and you don't even need to play them. I bought 1 Inch Tactics and just straight up didn't play it. I have no idea how I survived day to day.